Welcome to Empowered by Iron, the podcast for female strength athletes by female strength athletes. We are your hosts, Dr. Kristen Lander from Fiercely Fueled Nutrition Coaching and Mary Morton, PhD candidate and weightlifter. Together, we are Empowered by Iron. Welcome to the podcast, Kimberly. We are so happy to have you. Listeners, if you haven't already caught on, we have the Kimberly Walford on, 6-time IPL World Champion. IPF. Well, I mean, TBD on the IPL. We're close. We're going to get there on IPL. And 18 plus world records in USAPL, the IPF, and to be determined how many she's going to bring on in the IPL. Welcome to the podcast, Kimberly.
Thanks for having me. Let's talk. What are we going to talk about? All right.
First, we want to know how you got into powerlifting, because obviously you're a huge name. Everyone who's in powerlifting knows who you are. And now you've changed federations, so everyone in other federations knows who you are. But how did Kimberly Walford get started? And what got you into powerlifting to begin with?
I'd probably have to say I'd start with the age of 13. I was a freshman in high school, and my track coach told us he not only wanted us to be strong, not only wanted us to be fast, but strong. So he had us start weight training. And that basically carried me throughout, high school and college athletics. And then when I joined the military, I was training with one of my buddies in the gym, and he just basically asked, he's like, hey, they have a bench meet on base, you want to do it? And I was like, no, I just swing for fitness. And then he convinced me, and had a great time, won the meet. And it was from that point on, I was hooked on powerlifting.
What age was that?
I was 21. Okay. I was 21.
Okay.
So you started 2021 in powerlifting, but you had been lifting since your early high school days.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you obviously have the mind of a champion. Can you explain to us, like, I mean, so many people, they want to quit, right? They don't want to keep going. What made you, what is like I don't want to say drug of choice, but what makes you motivated to continue? Because you have all these records, but at some point you had no records. And what pushed you to really, blossom into this sport?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is like the will to be better for yourself, just to be the best version of you. I think that's where it starts. And then after realizing how competitive I could be, it was paying homage to, I feel like, the gift God gave me of strength, because I know I only have it for a finite amount of time and wanting to use it for good. I'm inspired by the newbie lifter, completing their first meet, to the champion or record holder going for an attempt. It doesn't matter, push themselves, giving their all, go after a goal that inspires me. And I mean, there's other things too, but of course, also the haters and the naysayers, because nothing makes me happier than proving them wrong and making them upset. Just keeping it honest.
I mean, well, obviously, once you get to the top, you are flooded with a lot of love, but also a little bit of hate trickles in. How do you deal with that? I mean, we've seen a lot of overwhelming positivity in powerlifting, but there's still some of those people.
Yes. For the most part, I just block them out. If they're ever in my presence during a meet, I'd use it as fuel. I always tell other lifters the same thing. If someone makes a comment about you, a post, or they're nasty to you in person or disrespectful, just take that negative energy and focus it into your lifts and tell yourself, I'm going to use this and as something positive to help me hit whatever I'm going to hit. And that's what I do. Whenever I hear or see anything, for those rare occasions when it happens, I focus it into my lift and say, okay, you just gave me extra motivation.
So you don't,
I'm going to do.
You don't actually respond to these people?
I rarely do. I can count the times literally on one hand. I think maybe once or twice I may have, but I rarely do, because when you do, you give them shine that they don't need to have, and they don't earn. They're basically, if someone really is educated about the sport and knowing how you do things, then they would have no reason to make comments about you. But you realize people are always going to have something to say, and you can't please everyone in life. So, and why should you? The people who matter are the ones who matter, and those are the ones you focus on, you know, in your life. So I don't worry about them. Not at all.
That's very big of you. I still get, you know, we're small, tiny podcast, but sometimes we get hate and it it hurts my heart. It's like, well, we're doing the best that we can. I don't understand why you don't love us. And I, you know, goes you through this, oh, should we quit? Should we change our whole direction?
Hell no, because then they win.
I know. Yeah, no, that's totally true. And that's what we usually come back to.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh man, what are we doing?
But also don't forget though, your friends will always get you too. Like,
that's true.
You know, if family or friends care about you and they see someone about you, they'll attack them for you. You don't even have to say anything.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a little smiling emoticon here and there.
Well, I always think people that are spewing hate, like and if they don't know you, they don't know really anything about what you're about, truly, other than what they see in the public. I'm always like, what something's wrong with that person to be that way. So I try not to focus on those people.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, seriously. Sometimes you wonder to yourself, have I met you before?
Yeah.
Did I wrong you? Who are you? Well, like, I don't mean it in a rude way. I mean, like, you're speaking about me as if we know each other.
Yeah.
But it is. That's how people are sometimes.
Yeah. And they talk to you in a way that like you would never talk to a person like that to their face because you would get slapped. But they say these things and you're just like, what? When you were typing that on your little keyboard, that for 2 seconds you think, wow, this is super petty and horrible. Or you're just like, no, you know what? Send it. Let's just see what happens.
It's the courage of being what they believe to be anonymity, and on the internet. The keyboard cowboys.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that one. I've never heard keyboard cowboys. I heard keyboard warriors. I like keyboard cowboys better.
That's good. Well, I wanna focus on some positive stuff here for a second, because you are doing some really, really, really cool stuff, and I got to see it firsthand. Finally, with Iron Sisters, that you are a part of, and you are spreading your knowledge to everywhere from newbie lifters to intermediate lifters and some advanced lifters. And can you tell me a little bit about what inspires you to do that? Because Jen Thompson mentioned something like, I think Donovan had said to her, like, you realize you're kind of like training people to beat you. And so that's, you guys kind of are. But I can see that you're so passionate about helping out this new crowd of female lifters. And can you just talk about what inspires you to do that?
Well, you want people to be able to achieve their own goals. And what's the use of having knowledge if you don't share it? Other people can't learn it. It can't be passed on if you don't share it. I think it's your job to do so. If you're knowledgeable about something, you should be able to share it. And with regards to the aspect of, possibly you, well, they still have to do it. Just because you have the knowledge doesn't mean you know how to employ it properly. You got to learn how to do it. So our job is trying to keep you away as long as we can, keeping it real with you. So we're still trying to fight for every kilo too, but I think it feels good in the heart to just be able to share the information, and then hopefully that person or people will pass it on to others. That's what we want our sport to grow, and how are we going to help it grow if we don't share what we know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I saw at Iron Sisters just the stars in these women's eyes, and just how much you not only do they admire you, but you really inspire them and make them feel like even though they're not a world champion, they matter. And I think that's so important in this sport, especially in the age of Instagram, social media, and everything, everyone posting all their accomplishments. Some people sometimes kind of feel left out, and here they're able to come get hands-on with you and feel like their journey matters. And it's so cool.
I've been saying this for years. Like, I really do feel like it's like pre-workout for the soul. It really is. Like, nothing feels better than seeing someone, knowing that you shared some information with them that was helpful, and watching them like achieve their own goals. It's so exciting. Like, and I see it in my, it's a whole new sense of like motivation and inspiration. It like, I feel like for all of us, it makes us want to push ourselves harder to be better, just seeing, the effect it has on someone else. So.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, and a lot of women, especially who find lifting or powerlifting, they come from, I don't want to say all of them, but a lot of them, they come from a very depressed or sad state where they're trying to find something to make them a better person or help them conquer life. And to find powerlifting is one step, but then to realize that there's actually this huge community behind it of people who will just support you because you're doing something that they do is just, in this world of feminism, is amazing. It is just amazing to watch that.
I completely agree. Definitely have seen it a lot at meets, and I feel like once again, it only just makes our community even stronger. And also letting those people know that they have that support.
We talked a lot to, and we keep bringing up Jen because we've had her on a couple times, but we talked to Jen Thompson a lot about, in our most recent episode, about training hard. So we found, Kristen and I have found that a lot of people, they train, and that's good. And I think it's good for the soul, and it's good, to be a powerlifter and have a great hobby. But how does your training differ from, I would say, a recreational lifter? How much more do you have to push for those extra kilos? Like, and how do you prepare for that, like, mentally?
Okay, so that's a two-part question. So
Yes.
I would say the difference between my training and recreational training is that it's goal-oriented towards preparing me for the platform. So a lot of the training is designed for me to, obviously increase my strength, but also to work on anything where I feel like I'm lacking, to help make me stronger for meet day. The other half of that question was, what was about the inspiration?
The second one is, how do you prepare for the training mentally, and how do you prepare yourself for that mental aspect of competing?
It depends. Like some days when I wake up, because I know I'm training at the end of the day, I'm thinking about the fact that, for instance, now I'm prepping for IPL Drug Tested Worlds, and that's pumping me up in the morning because I'm like, great, when I finish work today, I get to train. That's one more day down. I'm looking forward to doing this. Once again, telling you that, thinking about, the people that, you're inspired and motivated by, and vice versa. Always keeping a little portion in there for the haters and the naysayers, letting them know that I'm still doing what I need to do regardless, and you're not going to stop me because I'm focused on the goals of what I want to accomplish and the people who support me in doing so. And I feel like that's for any other person pushing towards their goals. And of course, like I said before about, with God, paying God homage to God for giving me this gift of strength and wanting to use it for good and showing him that I am. So those are some of the things that I use to like get me motivated and, ready mentally for training.
When you train, do you have kind of tunnel vision? Like when you go in, it's almost like a blackout of training, and then you finish? Like you're so focused on training.
Yeah. So like literally just before I'm coming down there, it's like I'm at the beginning of the tunnel. And then when I'm down here warming up and starting to train, I'm in the tunnel. And then like, forget about it. When I'm into the training sets, then I'm so far in the tunnel that I can't even hear you. Like I'm just focused on hitting those reps. And then I step out of the tunnel just to take a break in between while I'm resting. So yes, it's complete tunnel vision when I'm down here, because you mean business. I'm preparing, for a competition. Like even in the gym, it says here, don't put in half of the effort unless you want half the results. So I'm doing everything I can to prepare myself. And ISOM knows when you don't do everything you can to prepare yourself. So I'm down here, and I feel like any other person who's serious about competing is serious about their training because they know what's at stake.
Yeah, people such as myself might describe some of your Instagram lifting videos as a little intimidating. And I probably wouldn't want to. No, I mean, I get it. Now that you've explained it, you are in that zone. You are in kill zone. You're like, I'm lifting this bar. or so help me God. And I think that that's
Yeah,
super inspiring.
That's how I feel. I think that's the mindset. Yeah, I'm serious about what I'm doing. And the other thing is I am thinking about sometimes, like, that other people are inspired by you. So you want to work hard too, to let them know that, it's not going to waste, that respect that person holds you, those people hold you at. So I want them to know, look, guys, you can do it. Even when you're having a crappy long day or something's not going right, just in life in general, regardless of whether it's professional, romantic, or whatever, you can come to the gym or the Church of Iron or whatever you want to call it and let it out here. And then go back to real life after.
Well, yeah, you have to go back to real life. Well, that's how this whole podcast got started, is that, I mean, Kristen and I are not elite by any measures, although she's pretty competitive in powerlifting, but we got started because we recognize that women, when they become lifters, when they start picking up iron, their whole life and their whole attitude changes, So I don't know if there was a point in life where you felt like iron was shaping you or shaping the course of your life. But if you could describe how lifting has changed your life physically, mentally, or even emotionally, what does lifting mean to you? I mean, even young you to you now.
I knew, I would say probably from the moment I grabbed the first bar when I was 13, and who knew that it would take me to where I am now. But I would say that it's shaped me in such a way that it's allowed me to become even more physically strong. It has the benefits, of course, with not only making you stronger physically, but mentally as well. It's allowed me the ability to travel to places maybe I would have eventually gotten to, but a lot faster through competing. It's allowed me to beat people all over the world, so it's expanded my support network and my family network by being able to interact with people all over the world, not just on the platform when I go compete, but just when you're talking to other people on social media. I feel like it's like my other life. I have my professional life that pays the bills, and then I have my powerlifting professional life. And I feel like it's just as much as me, as much of me as part of my life. It's part of who I am. And I know sometimes people will say that, it's just a hobby, but I don't believe it is just a hobby for the people who dedicate so much time and sacrifice and commitment to it. And it's not a knock on the people who may say that it's just a hobby, but I think the people who feel the way I do understand where I'm coming from when I say that it's life. It's part of who we are. It's part of who I am. Huge part.
Yeah, you're not at the end of a long work day, you're not going to not go train.
Right.
It's not an option at this point.
Pretty much.
Kimberly, I have a question about what advice you might give an athlete who wants to kind of put in the extra work to get to the next step, whatever that next step is in their lifting journey, whether it's their first meet or qualifying for nationals for the first time or trying to break a national record or a world record. Like, what would your advice be to someone who wants to go from maybe step C to step D or whatever?
First, I would say having a plan that's going to allow you to accomplish that goal. I would also, I'm going to throw that in there, making sure that when you're going through the brainstorming steps of making sure that you have everything to start this process, check in with yourself. Is my body 100%? That's always a great place to start.
Yeah.
Do I have any issues, with mobility or flexibility, injuries? Is there anything that is affecting me to be able to be the most efficient, effective version of myself when I train? Okay. If that's good, then I'd be talking with my coach. Hopefully you do have one, because I think sometimes people feel like they don't. I feel like if you're serious about pushing yourself to that level, and I know for some people it may be financial reasons why, but there's friends with experience. Getting someone with more experience than you to help guide you along the way. Because there have been times that I've trained in gyms and I've just from being around people, I've learned things that help to make me a better lifter. And I think so that's important. Making sure you have a good coach or good training partners, a strong support system, the right equipment. I know that's another problem that sometimes a lot of us have, not enough to have a home gym or even a powerlifting gym with the right equipment. I'd say that if you're the population that doesn't have the ability to train in an environment that has the equipment that you need, being able to see if you can somehow simulate it somehow. Like for instance, if the racks are too low or too high, being able to use like stall mats to make up. So at least you can have like what the height would be at a competition, making sure that, the bars in the gym, even if some of them are warped, trying to use the one that's the least warped, with the most knurling, making sure that when you're getting to that heavy weight, that you have spotters for squat and bench who know actually how to spot. And if they don't know how to, teach them how. You can teach people how to do it correctly. Making sure that you have the right training program to get you there. And how do I have the right training program? You should be reviewing previous years and your current training and seeing, am I making progress? Am I pushing? Am I getting closer to my goals on the platform? Like, these are the things you should be thinking about. And then finally, if it's about like actually competing, like if one of those goals of pushing you to the next level is competing at a certain comp, making sure you have the right people around you, not only during the process, but when you get to that competition. So only thing you have to worry about is doing what you got to do on the platform. So those are the things that come to mind for me.
Did you ever, in your journey, did you ever have people who were not of the most positive mindset towards your goals? And how did you deal with that?
I laugh because, if like most lifters, if you're a trained Team Kimberly, and I'm not listening to you because I know what I'm going after. So the people support my goals, and I would feel like that's the same for any person in pushing towards a goal just in life. If you're not on my train towards my goal, then we don't have anything to talk about, because I'm not going to allow anyone to block me from or to stop me from what I want to accomplish. So
absolutely. Did you hear that, listeners? If there's someone in your life who's not supporting of your goals, leave them behind. That's it.
Now, if there's someone that you would love and care about and they're still
okay.
supporting it, we'll give that little disclaimer. Like if it's like family and friends, then it's like training time or comp time, then maybe you may not call or interact for a little while. So you have to do what you need to do. But I just feel like in life that the people who truly support you will truly support you pushing towards those goals. So that's just the opinion. I gave the disclaimer. If it's family or friends, then you know what you need to do. Sometimes you just got to separate yourself long enough so that you can focus on what you need, because you don't need outside distractions trying to like change your mind or get in your head when you need to be focused on what you're trying to accomplish on that platform.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
See, I told you I'm an asshole. It's just like drop everyone. Get them out.
I think what you said about support is really important. Just in terms of like having the people there on competition day, and having people around you, because one thing that I think happens in this sport is that it can become solitary, right? A lot of us end up training in private facilities. A lot of us end up training alone, and you get into this, you kind of get used to being alone. And then it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I need to make sure if I'm going to go do something big, I need to make sure I'm surrounded by people. And I think sometimes people forget the importance of that and making sure that they have that part set up. It's huge.
It's just one less thing you have to worry about on meet day. I suggest that for people who may have to train on their own, every once in a while, if it's a day during the week that works for you, maybe even once a month, go train in another gym just to get out of that, that solitary environment and to be around other lifters. It's extra inspirational to be around others, but also it'll allow you to open up your network as well, being able to interact with other lifters. So it's good for you to do that. And thankfully, I could say it pretty much every meet I've been to. If you've been one of those people who show up with no one there, there's always going to be someone there who's willing to help you. But it's great to come to the meet with someone who knows you already that can help you.
Absolutely.
Oh, I agree. Well, in terms of like partner support, I think that there's whoever your romantic partner is, I think that there's a difference between having someone who is very negative about what you're doing, always has a comment, and then someone who's like, I'm not sure that I'll be there, but whatever you want to do, you do. I'm not going to protest that,
Oh, so you're speaking for relationships? Oh yeah, my girlfriend is is my biggest cheerleader. She's a lifter too, and I have had relationships in the past where I'll never forget an ex-girlfriend asked me, so is there an off season? And that was one of the reasons why I knew it wasn't going to work, because I just looked at her and I was like, no. What do you mean, is there an off season? No, there's no off season. So she clearly in my mindset was thinking that, I guess she's going to stop lifting for a period. No, that doesn't happen. So, but no, it's important to have, the person in your household, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, that supports you as well, because this is the person that you come home to. This is the person you also talk about your goals with, in the most private setting. So having them there, it makes things, I feel like, even more memorable for you, knowing that, the person in your household, your significant other, is supporting you as well, and you them.
The other thing you said, though, is about a plan. So I think it would be cool to have you talk about like what, in terms of a plan. So a plan is not necessarily just programming, because there's meets throughout the years. There's meets in different years in different countries. How could you structure a good plan, or how have you structured your plan to be if that's the best thing for you, or to be the best you? Because a plan can be very vague. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to eat 6 meals a day and go lift. And that's a plan, but that's not like the plan.
Okay, so for instance, if you're saying the goal is you want to compete at a world championship, because why should we have small goals, big goals? So you want to compete at the world championship. The first thing I would be thinking is, okay, well, what is my competition calendar going to look like? Like, ideally, I'd probably want to hit at least 1 to 2 meets before that championship. So if that championship, for instance, we'll say is in November, you would have hopefully at least got a qualifier in within a year. So you're going to have to do that. And then you're also going to want another meet, I would say, to prepare you again, to make sure you're in line. So probably another 3 or 4 months after that. And then I'd say probably something in the range of 3 to 4 meets prior to that world championship is when you would start training specifically for that championship. So just to go back, in case it was a little confusing, I would say, okay, we know a meet is a year out. I want to qualify for this meet. So I'm going to research and see what are the qualifications, what do I need to do? Okay, so most likely, depending on the country, I may have a provincials, a national championship, or I may just need a qualifier from a specific type of meet. So you go and check to make sure what are the qualifications. Then the next thing is saying, okay, well, how am I going to train? Am I breaking this up into 2 or 3 training cycles? Do I only need 2 cycles? Also thinking to yourself, once again, which I mentioned earlier, am I 100%? Is there anything that I need to fix? Am I having any mobility issues, injuries, irritations that is going to hinder me from, of course, coming up with the right training plans, actually the right programming? Also making sure the environment, if you can get to the right training environment, and I mean not just people, the equipment, if you can, even if it's only once a week, every 2 weeks, once a month, setting your schedule or your calendar up in such a way that you could get yourself to the right, it does wonders. If you can't, then you're going to have to make the best of where you are. But if you can, get to a powerlifting gym, a buddy's house who has the actual bar or rack, if that works. Nutrition, making sure that you're eating whatever your macros are supposed to be. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I should be eating 4 to 6 meals. I'm averaging about 3 to 4 if I'm lucky. But I know that it makes a huge difference in how you train. Water intake, some people don't even consider that. Water intake will clean out the system, but it also helps you with, losing weight overnight as well, because you urinate the water weight out. And when you weigh yourself in the morning, surprise, surprise, it also helps you with losing weight. And then also, like I said, getting ready for the actual meet when you're close. Do you take a deload week where you just absolutely do nothing, meet week, and relax? Or do you go into the gym and just warm up? Are you maxing out too late in your cycle? If it's 2 to 3 weeks before a meet, you should not be maxing out, my opinion. I'll put the disclaimer. You need to save that strength for the platform when you're going to need it. Making sure, like I said, also during meet week, am I prepared? I've got plane tickets. Am I drive with me? Hotel's already set up. Do I need to cut weight? So is there a sauna, even though that's the last thing you want to use personally? If you need to, that's like, oh my God, I may not make weight. I may have to, or depending on the federation. Yeah, I did it once in life and that was it. So hopefully you have put together a proper nutrition plan, in the sense that by the time you get to meet week, you're where you need to be to weigh in for the weight class you want to compete in. Making sure you have all your equipment. Making sure you have your playlist. I'm all about my music. Making sure you have the right people with you on meet day. And that's pretty much it. And then the mindset of just being ready to do what you got to do. I think I jumped around a little bit, but I just used, preparing for one meet. It doesn't have to be worlds. You can, whatever you want to call it, state, nationals, special invitation or whatever. But that's just some of the things that come to mind for me if I'm prepping what my plan is for that meet.
The thing that I'm hearing you say is that every single thing is accounted for in your lifting.
Oh, hell yeah.
You leave nothing to chance. Everything is accounted for, from your recovery to your nutrition to your training to your meet prep. Like, everything is planned and prepared and ready. I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about. They think about like just the training and then like forget about a lot of the other stuff.
I completely agree. If you're serious, you're going to do whatever you need to accomplish that goal. It's the same professionally. When you're preparing yourself, you want a resume. You're trying to get jobs that are going to allow you to get into the career that you want to be in. So why wouldn't it be the same if you're preparing yourself to achieve goals on the platform, whether it's, records or championships or placement or qualifying for a meet? We say this in life, you have to plan. It's preparation to get you ready for something you want to accomplish.
Failing to plan is planning to fail, to be cheesy.
Yeah.
It's true, though. It's very true. I fully believe that.
I agree. I hear you've mentioned it twice now, so it must be very important, about the being 100%. How many times, if any, have you ever tried to push through any type of injury? And obviously, it's very important to listeners for you to take care of yourself. So what do you do to make sure that you're not injured all the time?
I listen to my body. I think sometimes it comes... I think sometimes it comes with just getting older and life experience and realizing going from 20 and feeling like we're all invincible and nothing's going to phase us, and you don't need to warm up to, approaching 30, 40, 50s and realizing the changes that happen in your body, that you're a little more sore after competitions or training, realizing that, proper form is important, not just picking things up and putting them down. Visits to a physical therapist will definitely inspire you with that type of information. It's like just knowing that I think you have to remember to listen to your body. Your body will tell you if something does not feel right. And I know there have been times that we push through it, but my personal opinion of an injury, you don't want to push through it. What you may do, like I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. You may work around it, but I work around it with the assistance of a physical therapist. It's like the irritation I have, because I don't like to call them injuries. So injuries make me think something's permanent. It's not going to go away. So I say, like the irritation I had a few years ago, I pulled my QLs on the right side. It made it difficult for me to be able parallel. It made it, I couldn't pull conventional without pain. So for instance, I would work on doing like beltless squats or front squats or pin squats. It was one of the times that I couldn't do conventional. So I would do my heavy set sumo and switch to conventional. And then I was working with a PT to help me do that. So I say again, please do not work through pain. You need to speak to a physical therapist. If you can't go to a physical therapist because they're expensive and damn insurance won't cover it, then I would say, see if maybe you could talk to a physical therapy student or researching it online about possibly what you think it is, talking to a doctor, someone who could tell you at least what it is. And maybe you could research talking to other lifters who may have experienced this, the symptoms you're experiencing, for your advice on what they've used. I know other people have alternative means to being able to work around, but I'm saying this is just, I'm giving, I feel like the cure-all advice of what I would tell just generally people if they're dealing with things.
One of the things you talked about was proper form. And we talked earlier too about training with, trying to train with different people. And one thing that I learned actually training with you, I'm always the tallest person that I lift with. I have the longest limbs of anyone that I lift with. I mean, Mary's close. Mary has some long legs, but it's really, I think I discovered when I lifted with you, like, wow, I can learn so much from someone with a similar body type to me, because sometimes we have to do things a little bit differently than someone who's shorter. If you're really short, or have, disproportionate, body parts to other body parts, that you got to find someone who maybe kind of looks like you and try to learn from them. I think that's really an important thing, because form is going to look a little bit different based on how your body looks.
And I think it's kind of sucks that sometimes, especially when you're just getting into the sport and don't really have the knowledge and know-how, that we're not all going to look the same, like you said, because it's kind of like the impression that this is what the pretty ideal, optimal, picture video looks like of how you should squat, bench, and deadlift. But they don't sometimes account, when they originally started years ago, they didn't account for the differences in body types, and realizing that, how, like you said, a taller person is going to squat versus a shorter person. So thankfully now there's definitely in the last few years, there's been more knowledge put out there to show people that it's about you understanding the proper concepts for technique and being able to employ those in your training. And of course, I'm going to give a little plug for this awesome website I like to follow. It's called on Instagram, it's Physique. It's PHYSEAQUE. I love this site because this page on Instagram, because they give you awesome diagrams to explain, powerlifting concepts, and also just strength concepts in general, like how to, keep your core tight. It literally breaks it down into beautiful pictures, and so I implore you guys to check it out. And I'm just huge about like supporting other people who help make things easier for others. So it's great for you to check out this Instagram page, because it'll give you a better visual of some of the concepts you may not necessarily understand.
Awesome. We'll link that in the show notes for sure for you guys, so that you can check that out.
So you're a coach, am I correct on that? Mm-hmm. You have athletes. So you talked in your overview of the goals. So you kind of went upside down triangle, right? Very broad to very specific. If an athlete comes to you and says that they want to qualify for nationals, first of all, what are your thoughts on weight cuts and weight classes? And then secondly, what do you feel is like the minimum amount of time you would like as a coach to prepare an athlete for, let's say, a qualifying meet and then nationals? Like, is there a minimum amount of time? Okay.
So your first question was about weight cuts and classes. I would say, depending, if you're just starting out, I think you should just play where you weigh. Getting some comps under your belt. And then once you've done that, like you could be aware of it even from the first comp, but after you've gotten some under your belt, get an idea of how your body is training and competing, and especially when you're balancing it with life, that then you can start looking at, okay, so goal is to qualify for nationals. Let me see what are the requirements depending on federation. Let me see how close my numbers are, depending on division. Let me see, when is the competition? Do I have enough time to get enough cycles in to prepare me? Based on my numbers, will I be able to hit the numbers I would like to hit at nationals by this time period?
Right.
To your question about what you say, time as a coach.
Yeah.
I tell athletes, my preference is 12 to 16 weeks. And I say that because I want to get in the cycle of training together, working with each other. I have had athletes come to me with, literally less than a week, and I can't properly prepare you from my end because I haven't worked with you all cycle. I said, but what I can do is help you with maybe cleaning up some things, and I can give you advice from there, but I don't want to make any major changes because you've been training this way this whole cycle. So it's more about if it's a short time frame, like literally a few weeks, I'm not coaching you at that point. It's more like I'm just trying to help guide you to get you through this meet. I personally, I tell them, I prefer to start with 12 to 16 weeks. Give me sufficient time to really work with you.
That makes sense. Yeah, Chris and I have been talking a lot about weight classes and weight cuts, because a lot of people, they want to drop 20 pounds in 8 weeks to make a new weight class, and you're like, oh God, what are you doing? And then the coach, the whole coaching thing, a lot of people, they don't give coaching a sufficient amount of time. They'll jump coaches to really understand themselves. And because coaching isn't just a one-way street. It's not Kimberly coaching someone. It's really a back and forth thing. You both are trying to figure out what the hell your body's doing and what's going on.
Yeah, because hopefully your coach is, talking with you guys about how your week was, and something that you should be telling your athletes as well is you said it. It's not a dictatorship. It's a partnership. So it's the biggest thing is similar to other relationships is communication. Honest. Let me say honest communication. Honest communication. So if something is going crappy during the week that may affect how you train, tell us. We're human, and I feel like sometimes as coaches, coaches don't want to. They too can make mistakes, but we're able to talk with that athlete and be like, look, I made a mistake in something. You're right. That's what I meant to send you. I wanted to double back on something you said about dropping weight. I hope you don't mind, because I think it's important to mention is about, should you drop weight to make a class? Okay, after you've had experience competing for a period, let's just say, I'm just going to throw out
the most important part. Once you've gotten your feet dirty and a little wet, right?
So after you've gotten some meats under your belt, and you realize the next thing, okay, so you're trying to figure out, should I go up or should I go down? Okay, figuring out where you are in the weight class. So if your walk around body weight has you within a few pounds of a weight class, yes, drop down. I used to go by no more than 2 to 3% of what your walk around weight is. Some people go a little more, but the point is that if you do want to drop down, making sure that you're doing it the healthy way, and then you have the proper guidance to allow you to do that. And also you should be considering yourself that if you feel like you're going to be more competitive in a lighter weight class, asking yourself, how long do you think you're going to be able to do that? Can you make the commitment? Because it's going to be literally you having cycles where you're working to get down to that weight. So are you prepared to, do this maybe 2 to 3 times a year? And if you are, okay. And then also thinking, how long am I going to do this? So if you're having to get dropping more than 5% of walk around body weight, I'm going to say as a woman, because I know for guys, it's different, then maybe you should consider, maybe I should just go up. Is it worth it for you to keep doing that? And I think that's only a question that someone can answer personally. For instance, with me, I competed at 63s for two years, and I would start out something in the range of 6 to 8 weeks. And I dropped down a little bit over that 2 to 3%. So it was something in the range of like 8 to 10 to make a 138, 8 to 10 pounds. So 5 kilos for you non-American lifters. So I would drop, that's what I would do. And then it just got to a point where I was realizing I could still drop down and make 63s, but I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was looking at my walk around body weight, and then I could see the potential of how strong I could be going up. And that's when I made the decision. I was like, I'm happy with what I accomplished, at this weight class, but I'm going to move up,
Kimberly, so, I think what you just said is really, really important. I want to stop you for a minute, because at some point, I think everyone's going to reach that point if they continue long enough where you realize your potential to gain strength at a heavier weight is so much more than your potential to keep getting stronger at that lighter weight, having to continue to cut, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. I think
most people who cut know that, because you can see it. If you're recording, obviously you're gauging everything that you're going through. You're recording your meets. You're seeing how much you're dropping. You're seeing how many attempts you're able to make. That you're getting closer and closer to that line of how much you can accomplish before you have to move up.
Yep. And there's no shame in moving up. I think that I think that's an awesome place to be, to move into that next weight category. You have so much room, especially in powerlifting, and the weight classes are pretty big. There's a pretty big range. It's like you have so much room to I'm not saying just like immediately fill out the weight class, but to be able to eat a little bit more and just get strong, get so much stronger. That is such a cool thing. Mary and I have both been through that, and it's pretty awesome.
The hugest benefit is knowing you are no longer worried about dropping weight. So you literally are you can focus on training and don't have to worry about dropping weight. So it's a great feeling. It's like I'd say it was like you feel like a weight has been lifted off of you.
LOL. No pun intended. Well, and then honestly, between two different weight classes, so a lot of people who are in a heavier weight class mostly look to go down. Rarely you see people want to move up, especially women. But really the difference between some of these two weight classes, like the amount lifted, is that they're very similar. And if you move down a weight class, you're not really going to be that much more competitive. You'd be so much more competitive if you continued to move up and get stronger. But I think for a lot of women, that's just scary because, societal norms and what we're supposed to look like and blah, blah, blah. And moving up is a little bit terrifying. But like Kristen said, like you don't have to just eat cake for like 6 weeks straight and gain 10 pounds of fat. You don't want to do that. No, no, you want muscle. Like you want to be dense.
Yeah, just allowing yourself to grow into it. And, I know sometimes, we all have like body image issues, sometimes as women, but you got to realize that you have to be happy with who you are. And you got to use that as a catalyst to help push you towards where you want to be, even if it means like you competing on the platform. So, and say that you gave the example of if you're between weight classes and if the numbers are similar, go up. It's less stress on your body. And it'll allow you to really just focus on just getting stronger and not have to worry about one more factor of dropping down. Because even if you're lifting the same amount of weight and you're in a lighter weight class, yes, your Wilks will improve. But that really only comes into play if that's one of your goals with regards to, out-wilking someone for a placement or something like that. It's better for you to focus on getting stronger. But that's a game that, that we play, a lot of us up there. It's like, okay, I know that if I lift this amount of weight, I'm going to have this Wilks. But that you only need to worry about that if that's one of your goals for that specific meet. Like, are you going for best lifter? And you're aware that your competitors' numbers are around this range. So I need to weigh in about at least this, to be able to hit these goals. But that's for people like when you have more experience in the sport. If you're a newer lifter, just focus on getting stronger.
Yeah. Well, and a big unknown secret is actually the heavier you get, so the weight class you move up to, honestly, the less competitive it is and the better you might be. I don't mean that for elite lifters, but for, yeah. So like
less competitive.
listen, hear me out.
I know. I'm waiting.
So a lot of it's like for weightlifting, for Olympic weightlifting, a lot of people want to move down. So if you're between the 71 kilo weight class and the 76 kilo weight class, a lot of people will want to go down to the 71 weight class because they're always looking to go down. So if you're looking to go up, if you're one of those rare butterflies, there's going to be less people in that weight class. They might lift similar to you, but if you're looking for a placement, which, you know, is a whole nother thing, you may not necessarily always want to be looking for a trophy, but if you're looking for a placement, you might be better off going up because less people are looking to go up than there are to go down.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying that like people in the higher weight class can't lift.
We were gonna fight.
Oh my
God.
What? I'll fight you over the internet, Kimberly.
Mary, you're also talking about moving out of that bell curve, right? The center of the bell curve. That's super, super, super competitive. For women powerlifting, it's like the 63s, 72, 75, moving out of that. And for Olympic weightlifting, it's like I have to get the weight classes right now.
71, 76.
Yeah, it's like those bell curves. So if you're on the verge and you can move up and move out of that, you might actually be more competitive. Mary, you're sharing my secrets.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. Well, okay. So Kimberly, you have your first IPL drug tested world championships coming up in Vegas in November. Did I see somewhere that do you have a like a prep meet before that? Or are you competing before that?
That was before I signed up for the meet. There's going to be a New Jersey drug testing meet in USPA coming up, and I'm actually going to be refereeing at that meet.
Cool. Great.
So, yeah. No. I'm not crazy. I
thought I saw that and I went, what? Did I?
No. Initially, I was going to compete, but then I signed up for World, so I was like, no, can't compete that close.
Got it.
But I'm still coming to support. I'm going to ref. So
awesome. Well, good.
Well, I think you are a little crazy, but the good kind of crazy. So we'll just leave it at that. Please don't fight me.
Like, I'm going to fight you.
I'm not violent. Okay. So final question. We'll kind of wrap everything up here. What do you wish you knew back then that you know now in terms of lifting?
Oh man,
I know. That's a good one.
Back then, I would have listened to my intuition more, because, like I said, when you're younger, starting in, I feel like teens and 20s, we have, and that I can do all things and nothing will faze me or affect me, and realizing that you'll end up seeing the results of those decisions as you get older. So I would say that I would say listening, making sure that you listen to the good people around you. I mean, I did these things, so I'm just going to flip this question and turn it into more of an advice thing. Okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's okay.
I would say, as a new lifter, most important, what your goals are and what you want to accomplish. Even if you have to believe it's possible to make it happen, having a plan, having plans to get yourself accomplish these goals, surrounding yourself with who will support you throughout your journey, and knowing when to let go of others who may not. Speaking with regards to coaching, finding yourself an experienced coach, not someone who just has a large Instagram following.
What?
But actually taking the time to research these individuals, talk to people or who've worked with them, actually verify that the information that they tell you about their experience is accurate. Like, for instance, just because you see someone in a photo or video at a meet standing next to a lifter doesn't mean that that's their coach. People have a tendency sometimes to assume that. And some of these coaches will use that as a benefit to try and draw in more lifters. So take the time to research these people. With regards to nutrition and supplementation, doing your research, Understanding the importance of why you need to eat right, why, amino out and creatine. Why do these things work well in helping you to, accomplish your goals with regards to getting stronger, endurance, and recovery? Learning about the federations, taking the time once again. See, I keep saying that word, research, learn, go to these meets, talk to people who compete in these federations. Learning about their rules, learning people, take the time. If you will in the rule book about your federation, at least know what reds mean.
Yeah.
Like, for those rare occasions where you may actually be able to get something overturned, you can at least explain why. You know that a rule is this, this, and this. That's important. It's no use to meet if you don't even know the rules. Okay. With regards to longevity, just as you get older and wiser about the sport, you're going to continue to learn, and knowing that you should listen to your age, how you train, how you recover. So it's important knowing that if telling you maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe you shouldn't do it, because it's going to take you long. It's going to cause an irritation or injury, and just finally just this is not a hobby, in my opinion. This is a way of life. It's the same. And then why do I say that? It's because you put so much into this, like your time, your sacrifice, late nights, early nights, training on the weekends, traveling to compete and to meet up with people. Food is expensive. Supplements, expensive. Sometimes a gym, expensive. It just depends. So just knowing that you're putting yourself in a position so you can be in this sport as long as you want to be with the people you want to be around. And that's pretty much it. I know I totally flipped that question, but I just wanted to just share some stuff I feel like, maybe we're all thinking, or maybe you should be thinking about if you really are serious about being a powerlifter or being in this sport for the long term.
I think that's really important. And I think it's important to have someone who's as elite as you are, share that with even the most beginnerist of us all.
I like those words.
Yeah. Thank you. I made it up on the spot.
Kimberly, thank you so much for coming on. You are one of our most requested guests. So we finally made it happen. Woohoo! Where can our listeners find you on Instagram, or if they want to hire you as their coach? How can they find you?
On Instagram is Trackfu, TRACKFU. Or you can find me also on Facebook as Kimberly Walford. And just if you have any questions, whatever, in regards to training, just hit me up and I'll be sure to answer them for you.
Hell yeah. If you're looking for a coach, this is your girl. Reach out. Thank you so much again. We really appreciate it.